What is up, guys? I hope you're doing well. So this is part 3 of the Sabine River Baits to Throw series. In part 3, we're going to focus on my favorite lures that have caught me a lot of fish in the marsh. And when I say marsh, I'm talking like Bessie Heights area, the Wildlife Refuge, all of the Louisiana marsh. What you see on this table will get you some results. So let's jump on in part 3, and I'm going to show you what works out in the marsh. All right, to kick this video off, we're going with my favorite thing I do out in the marsh, and that's throw a Ned rig. So this is the best worm I think I've ever found for a Ned rig. So this is the Strike King Rage Ned Bug. Now this is in the dirt color. Between the bait itself, like with the little legs on it, and the color, whatever they feed on out in the marsh, this definitely matches it pretty close. I've caught tons of good bass on here, numbers, redfish, trout, flounder, everything eats this guy. This is something you need in your tackle box when you go out to the marsh. Moving on to another worm I do really good on. So if the water's super muddy or it looks like a cup of tea where it's real like dark black looking kind of clear, go with this guy right here. This is the Strike King Cutter Worm in the crawdad color. So when I first started throwing a Ned rig out there, this is where I started because it kind of looked like a shrimp. This is the little turd worm in the Drew's craw color, but it kind of resembles a shrimp a little bit. It's got a little gold in there, so this is something that will also catch you a lot of good fish out there. One other thing I do on Ned rigs is I throw a little bitty crawfish out in the marsh. Now this is an old Yum one. You can't get these anymore. However, I started throwing this guy right here. Excite Baits just came out with this little crawfish. It's the same size, and in a upcoming video, you'll see this guy put to work out in the marsh. It caught up pretty good that day I went, so definitely pick you some of them up. Moving on, so get you some of these right here. These are the Kitech little swim baits in the crystal shad color. So I was going for trout when I discovered this bait. It's got a lot of gold in it. It looks like a shrimp. And the day I was trout fishing out in Black's Bayou, the bass happened to be there, and they let me know quick they like this guy. So pick you some of them up. Another thing I do out in the marsh is I throw a lot of really 3 different types of weightless worms. So I'll go with a weightless Zoom Fluke style. Now this is in the pumpkin spice color or pumpkin slice, I don't remember, but it looks like a shrimp. Real good color. Another thing I do is I throw Cincos, and just throw one that kind of resembles a shrimp. Shrimp have kind of a pinkish color to orangish color, so something like that. Now, these three right here are a Gary Yamamoto brand. They'll work in kind of the deeper areas of the marsh, but if I'm in like 2 feet and less, you want to go with something that sinks a little slower. So these guys right here, Excite doesn't have any salt in them. I'm not sure what kind of plastic Strike King uses, but both have about the same fall rate and work fantastic in the shallow parts of the marsh. So moving on, I Texas rig out there a bunch, and I pretty much throw a baby brush hog style bait exclusively just because of the results I get on it. Go with some type of watermelon or green pumpkin gold. That's all you need to throw. Even if the water's dirty, there's something about that gold flake on a Texas rig they absolutely love. Moving on to the last part, the hard baits. So I don't care if it's January, February, I don't care if it's cold. If them bass are hitting shad on top, this is what I'm throwing right here. A full-size chrome torpedo, either a solid chrome and black. I've caught them out there in the marsh when it's 50 degrees out. If there's any kind of top activity on top, pick you some of these up and you will thank me later. Oh, one other bait I missed on the floating worm. So I do rig a straight worm. I'll either rig it wacky style in the middle. I'll hook a little hook in the head of it and just kind of let it free float with the tide. This will also catch you a lot of baits. I missed that one, my bad. So moving on. 1/4 ounce traps. I've caught a pile of fish out there on them, and all you need is just some type of shad color. 1/2 ounce traps too. Now this is actually a saltwater lure. It's pink and gold. This thing was brand new at one time, but the bass, especially in Black's Bayou, love this guy. There was one day where I had this trap right here. I had 4 doubles, meaning I had a bass on this hook and another bass on this hook. Wish I would have had the camera with me, but yeah, they ate this guy up that day. And really the last thing I do is I throw some crankbaits. So These Echo 175s have a great wide wobble. A friend of mine told me to throw them for redfish because that's what he catches a lot of his reds on. So I was trying it in Black's Bayou and ended up discovering the bass love them too. So either go with a shad color if the water's clear, or if it's kind of that black clear, go with a gold color. In the deeper areas of the marsh, I'll throw this MR6 crankbait in just a shad color. Now with my live scope I had on my old boat, I would point and see them little deep holes next to shallow water, and I'd run this through them, and this guy has caught me quite a few keepers out there. And really the last thing I do, 2.5 size to a 1 size crankbait, and I got one more bonus I'm gonna show you in a second. So these colors right here, just in a shad color, these are great shallow water crankbaits. Now in the last March video that you guys seen where I absolutely destroyed them, wrecked them really good, this was the #1 bait right here on that particular day. This is an Excite XB1 crankbait. I can't think of the color off the top of my head, but it resembles a shad and a brim on how they look out there. But guys, that's all I do. I fish the marsh. Very simple. Hopefully you find this information helpful. Take what you've seen in this video, apply it. It'll definitely get you some results. Be looking for part 4 coming up. Y'all keep God first in your life. We'll see you soon.